Welcome to the She Force Show. I'm Amy Carlson, your host, and I have a fabulous guest today, DeeDee Rich. Welcome, DeeDee.
Hi, thank you. Welcome.
It's great to have you here, and I am excited to learn more about what it is you do and how you got going on that.
Okay. Well, I am definitely the best way to put this for me would be to start with saying I'm an author first, and then I'm an empowerment coach, and it kind of went in that order, so to speak. And so I got started, I want to say 2019. I got a divorce, went through a pretty hard relationship breakup, and it led to me really digging into my writing a lot more. I started out blogging, believe it or not, and that led to other things. It's funny though, because I never thought of myself as being an author or a writer. I hated English in school. I was just one of those people, like, I hated everything about the sentence structures and all these different weird things that they wanted us to do, right? But now I love these things. Um, but anywho, going through that hard breakup, uh, writing became my therapy.
Yes.
Yes. And so it was my outlet. It was the thing that I could get out all my thoughts. And what I found is that I start getting a lot of feedback by writing my thoughts. I realized that so many other people, in particular women, were also having these thoughts and these emotions that they were going through and learning. And so it helped me to kind of continue that. And I just found this thing in within me that I was like, this is your thing. This is like, good stuff, right? So I've continued from there. Yes.
I love that your empowerment coaching came
Mhm,
from, if I'm hearing this right,
mhm.
the empowerment that you felt from writing.
Right, right,
That's beautiful.
right. Because writing for me, as an author, well, your every character in your book is you to some degree. It's you. It's either you physically, mentally, the way you see the world, something about that character is you. And so you learn so much about yourself in the process of writing. I don't care if it's a journal or a full manuscript. Yeah.
Yes. And I'm really curious. I'm going to ask you next about a little more about your writing, because just today,
Okay.
in fact, I had, knowing that I was going to be interviewing you, and I was thinking about that, and knowing you were an author. And um, so I know I have a book in me, and I know it's getting closer to coming out. And I'm just curious, like, for you, because this is not you have now written
5 books. This will be
5
my fifth one.
books.
I'm working on now. Yes.
And do they each have a different, could you share maybe in your
Mhm,
experience, what has been
mhm.
similar in each process, and maybe perhaps what has been surprising that has been different with each book?
I would say what the difference is the growth within me. And so if you think of it this way, you'll hear authors say oftentimes, "Oh, I had writer's block at some point." The writer's block comes when, uh, like I'm saying, you're connected to the story. So when you stop, wherever you stop in your life is where the book stops.
Mhm.
And so you'll find that that just means that you need to take a step back. And so that time has always been different with each book
Yeah.
and for different reasons. Um, Now, as far as you said, the other thing was the positives of it.
Well, and what you have found similar maybe in
Mhm.
either your process of how you write,
Uh-huh.
or
Uh-huh.
perhaps how certain things came together for you, or
Well, initially, when my first book was like my baby, so it was, and I say this to everyone: the first manuscript you write, or piece of anything that you really dig into, is going to be a mess, so to speak. It's everywhere. It's every thought that you've probably thought of, and it's probably not going to be your best work. But as you develop your skill, which is what you're talking about, and you figure out who you are as an author. So I'm currently right now finishing up my last my thesis for my MA in English and creative writing. Now I took
Oh,
that program in order to hone the skill. So at once I realized that, okay, hey, it's more than just, you know, throwing words on a piece of paper. You
yeah,
know, it has to make sense. It has a rhyme or reason to it. Then I took it a little further, and I learned the process of how to structure things. And then you find yourself within that. And I found out that I'm a more of a self-help author than, say, a children's author. But with that, I can be a self-help author and also write young adult. So I also write young adult. And the way those two things can connect is because you're still telling your story, but now you're using characters versus kind of teaching, because self-help is more like teaching.
right.
Yeah. So you're
That's
using the characters to teach when you write the young adult. Mhm.
this
Yes.
process, I can just tell that for you, I can feel the depth in it.
Yes.
And then when you
Yes.
were saying about how you were different with each book,
Hmm.
you,
Hmm.
um, so I'm thinking of like, in our personal growth, kind of like a
Right.
staircase, how we,
Right.
and so you have a different perspective over time.
Hmm.
And I'm curious how what it's done for your confidence, the more that you've written.
Oh, that's a very good question. I mean, I would say it has boosted my confidence in so many ways because, like I said again, it's therapy. And so you're healing as you're doing all this writing. And which every step of healing, of course, we evolve into who we really are. And the natural things that come out of you are going to come out of you. And so I've always been a person that kind of had a personality, I should say, or a presence, so to speak. But I didn't always accept that part of me. So now I accept it.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's that's a big thing, isn't it? It's like
Yeah.
one of the things that I've been working on myself is like
Hmm.
really taking up space, like kind of like
Right.
that power pose of like, and when you were saying, just the presence that you
Hmm.
naturally have, and then
Right.
embracing that.
Yes. 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 And most of my writings are about, illuminating yourself. One quote that I just really love that I say all the time is that the only relationship we have is with ourselves, and everything else is a reflection of that. Yeah. And so the more you dive into yourself, the better everything else becomes.
So true.
Yes. Yes.
So tell me a little bit about what you do as an
Mhm.
empowerment coach, and specifically who you work with.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I primarily work with women. And I feel like because I'm a woman, it's just so much easier that way. I can speak to exactly what she needs. But I empower women to be their true feminine, you know, step into who they really are, you know? Yeah.
That's, and I imagine your books. Okay, take me through this piece too. Do you
Hmm.
feel like your books inform your coaching, or your coaching informs what you write about next? Do you feel like those two are quite related?
Yes, that's a very good question. Yes, they are. I have a lot of dreams. Most of my material comes from dreams, actually, thoughts on different things. Uh, but yes, it very much comes from, say, I can have a conversation with someone about something very much in depth that's going on with them, and it triggers something, a thought that turns into a whole book.
Mm.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
that feels very creative to me.
Mhm.
The process, and then it also feels like you're talking about whether it was your intuition, or that inner knowing, that you get a lot of your ideas, thoughts from, and the dreams, it's like going into the subconscious. And
Right.
yeah, so how do you view creativity and how it shows up for you?
Well, I feel like we're all creative. We all have this special superpower within us, but we don't always tap into it. Um, everyone has their time. And so when your time comes, you will know, because more of these things will pour out of you. It's like you have this urge to be great. You know, you have this thing in you that's calling you to do something and make this massive change. And usually that's tied in with your creativity. But for me, my uh gifts, so to speak, talents or skills, those to me, I look at them as tools, and they help me, and I can pull them out, and they help me to better navigate my purpose.
Ooh, tools to help navigate your purpose. I love that.
Yes,
I've never heard that quite put like that.
right.
That's going to stick with.
Yes. Yes, it's just, I mean, when you say creative, we all have these things, and so I mean, whether you're good at writing or you're good at speaking, or these are all tools. And so you'll find that I've always been a person that's been multi-talented, and I struggled for a long time trying to figure out what would come first, or what I should do first or last. And so once I had this idea in my mind about it being a tool, then now I say, oh, you know what? I could just pull this out of my tool chest
Yeah.
and use it until it's no longer useful. And
Mm,
each thing has its place and time.
yeah.
Yes.
So I'm just imagining like a tool belt, and
Yes.
they're all there. And at any given time, you can utilize them, and you might find there's one that you are picking up more frequently
Hmm.
during a certain season. And
And
that feels,
that may be the one you need to lead with at that time.
yes, that's
Yes.
a nice way to put it.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yes. Because it's all aligned with your purpose,
Yeah.
you know? Yes. So, like, for example, I'm an author, but I also speak. And so it's like, oh, which one do you do? You know, you're going to do the one that comes first, the one that's pressing the most, that's that urge. And that's your leading tool until it's time for you to put that one to rest. That one's going to open the door some kind of way to the next one.
Yeah.
Yes.
That just really feels very natural. It feels like it
Yeah.
kind of just puts me at ease,
Hmm.
because I think, a lot of times we can have a real heavy feeling about purpose. And we can also
Oh,
have
yes.
that heavy feeling, just as you were describing, about like, what do I do first? And so
Hmm.
then we're kind of like frozen,
Hmm. Hmm.
no action, and certainly no inspiration when we're like,
Right.
ah. So the way you just
Yeah.
described that really put my nervous system at ease.
Yeah, because it's funny you say that, because I feel as if many people take purpose and they think, oh, it's a job, it's a career, it's some great thing, but they don't realize that you are always the purpose. The thing is, we have to awaken to it. It's always with us. And until we awaken to it, um, we won't really realize that. But you get there by using your tools. That's how you awaken the purpose within you.
And we know
Yes,
we usually know what our tools are, don't we? Like
we do.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
We just, but see, if you're misplacing those tools and you haven't really put them in the right perspective, then you're everywhere.
yeah,
And until you really focus and align yourself with, okay, this is what I need to use today. I need to pull this pen out and start writing,
yeah.
or I need to go speak more, or whatever your thing is. We all know it because it's just something that that's that thing that they speak of when they say, oh, it's the thing you do that everyone, they're talking about your tools. Those are the things that we do, and they just habits. They're things that we've learned and we've sharpened over and over, but we just, until you understand that they're aligned with your purpose, oh, you're everywhere with it. Yeah.
Yes. I have been everywhere. I can, I can relate to that.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So speaking of your purpose and
Okay.
using your tools,
Mhm.
uh, what's calling you forward next? What's next for DeeDee?
It's definitely speaking on a larger scale. I would love to travel and speak and just get, what's the use of having all these words inside of you if you can't share them with someone? If you can help one person, you've changed a whole generation,
Oh,
you know?
yes.
Yeah. So,
Ooh, okay. More speaking, more
yes.
traveling. Um, and so I'm really visual, and so as people are
Uh-huh.
talking, I get these, and so I'm seeing you with these words coming out, on a stage, and I'm seeing those words going forward as like a legacy, that's a really fun thought for me just to
Yes.
picture that for you,
I
DeeDee.
love that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, so when you have that kind of, how does this work for you? So you have this
Mhm.
vision, you see
Mhm.
like, all right, I feel this is coming, and I
Yes.
got my tools,
Mhm.
and maybe, you know, most often, I think for most of us, the entire path is not fully lit,
No.
but what I'd be curious to hear maybe how you talk yourself through this, or what you've experienced to kind of, encourage us all in
Uh-huh.
those moments of doubt when you think like, okay, there's this thing out here and it's a ways out there.
Mhm.
And I, what I do today matters,
Yes.
and it's moving me in that direction. But those moments when we feel like, there's, where's the bridge?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I've been there. And my philosophy on it is that, and today, whenever I feel that, my philosophy that I tell myself is that you can't see too far ahead. Okay. It's important that you stay in the now. The now keeps you relevant within yourself. It keeps you, like I said, the only situation you really have on this earth is you. And so if you get too far ahead of that, you lose yourself.
Right.
Then you lose yourself in the thought process of, oh, well, I could have this and I could be that. And you start getting too far out there. And so it's important these times when you're in that space where you don't know, the not knowing, but what you do know is what you have in front of you, the tool you have in front of you, and you just keep applying that until the time to change it. Now, when it's time to change, that's when you get a little more of that path. You get what I'm saying?
Oh
It
yeah.
all comes together. It all comes together. But if you rush it, then you miss it. That's how we end up going left and taking all these detours on our path because we're trying to see too far ahead.
Yeah.
So just in my opinion is keep yourself grounded in the fact that this is a good thing that I can't see too far ahead.
Mm,
If you can, you're doing something wrong.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. You're doing something wrong. You're off course, I should say.
Right. And
Because we
maybe
really never do anything wrong, right?
yeah. Yeah. But
Everything is
maybe
for
we're
our purpose. Yes.
yeah, maybe we're trying to force something or
Yeah.
yeah,
But
yeah,
if you figured it out too far, you're definitely off course.
yeah.
Yeah. That's the beauty of it though.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's like writing a book. Every page is a new page. You don't know what you're going to write next. There's a point where you get to it's like, oh, like I know, I think I know where this story is gone. And next thing you know, you have to erase the whole thing and start all over because you thought you were going right and now you're going left,
Yeah.
you know? But you got to stay in that energy.
Yeah.
That's where you grow the most. Yeah.
So you just awakened this thought in me about that presence
Uh-huh.
and uh, you know, it's given me this new vision of
Okay.
writing and also
Okay.
just like wherever I'm at in my path. The way you
Mm-hmm.
just described it makes me think of a mystery or an adventure,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
which I love. And so if I
Yes.
look at it that way, I can totally get behind it and go, oh, won't this be fun?
Right.
What, you know, what am I going to do with this tool today?
It's the best thing ever, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
It's like the best thing ever because you're always going to be motivated if you stay in that energy. You're always illuminated. You're always in your higher self, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah, you're not waiting on anything. You're just constantly being consistently moving forward.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that connection, that alignment with our higher self, that is in the present moment, isn't it? It's not
exactly.
about the future. It's not about the past. It's
Because you don't have those things, right?
yeah,
You only have that moment. But that moment, what you do with that moment leads to the next. So that's why I say you just continue that tool or whatever you're using at the time in that moment. That's all you have. You continue with that until the universe shows you that, hey, here's a little bit of more of the path. Now I need you to do this. And you know, because you'll feel it.
right,
It'll come to you.
right.
Yes.
And we also know when we're not, we the opposite is true too, right? Like when we are forcing it or when we are
Mhm.
um uh distracting ourselves with something like inside we know that. And not to
Yes.
say that's wrong, just like you mentioned,
Yeah.
it
You're just standing still for a minute, but
yeah,
it's something in that that you're learning,
yeah,
and until you learn whatever that thing is, you can't step forward. It's like writer's block. Yeah. So, and we go through that periodically throughout our lives, which
mm,
is okay because it was all designed to be that way. There's something there that you need to get to the next step. Yeah. And you just can't pass it until you get it.
right.
That's it. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. Just like
Yeah.
sometimes when our bodies are calling for rest.
Hmm.
And that's what we need. And when we listen, we will be recharged, re-energized. And from the writer's point of view, the next words will flow.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you're always bigger than your talents and your skills. You just don't know it until you get into it, you know? Yeah. See, those things don't really define necessarily who you are, but your purpose is who you really are,
Yeah.
the overall thing.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's the thing that keeps us going. Yes.
So, DeeDee, this okay, time has just gone by so fast in our conversation.
Okay.
Because there's so many nuggets in here that I'm going to, as soon as I get off this interview, I am going to write down, because I feel like they were inspired for me today.
Okay.
So
Oh,
thank you.
that's always good.
I know. And, as we're wrapping up, do you feel like there's anything on your heart that maybe perhaps we didn't get a chance to talk about, but that you just
Mhm.
feel like, I just feel inspired to say this to the audience right now?
Right. Um, my thing is always, understand who the power of self is. It's something very powerful in self. Yes.
Mm. Yes,
You know,
I'm going to dig into that one.
yeah, because we hear about self-love, but what does the self part really mean?
Yeah,
It's a lot of power in that.
that is such a wonderful thing to finish this delightful conversation with. And
Thank you.
I'm just so pleased that we got to meet like this. And I really
Yeah.
look forward to future connections. And
Yes.
I also look forward to reading. I have not read any of your books yet, but I
Okay.
am going to read them and be inspired. And then I'm going to share with you too when I start writing my book, just for
Okay.
accountability.
Yes. And if, of course, I'm here if you need anything, any, ideas or things to help you along the way, little tricks of the trade, you know where to reach me.
Yes. Well, and
Yeah.
speaking of reaching you, we will have all of the ways that people can connect with you
Okay.
below this episode. So
Okay.
be delighted to have that, and just encouraging our audience today. Um, if you are like me and some things just hit like this during this
Mhm.
conversation, take a moment before you do anything else. At the end of this episode, take a moment, write that down, and feel into what is next for you around that
Mm.
special thing that you got from this conversation today. DeeDee, I am honored. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.